Hey folks, Nicola here, going live today as a little bit of an experiment with a behind the scenes look at a game. So I was literally sitting here on my computer doing my normal work, which is often making games for Vibrant Music Teaching, and I thought, hey, why don't I show you the exact process, like it really happening as it happens. So this isn't going to be a tutorial in how to use InDesign, which is the software I'm about to show you. For that, you would need a lot more training and a lot more time. But it is going to be a look for anyone that is curious and maybe someone who already uses InDesign and wants to see the setup I use if you're a bit of a design geek. But mostly, I'm predicting that maybe teachers will watch this and especially members of Vibrant Music Teaching might just like to see some of the work that goes into making the games that we publish each and every month. So the game that I'm going to be doing is called Staff Tangle. Now this is a super ahead of the times look because this is coming out next year. So it's way in the distant future, but it's one of the games I'm working on right now. We tend to be a bit, not higgledy-piggledy, but out of order with our schedule because of the way my brain works or our prioritization works. And so this is coming out way into the future, but it might give you a sense of what goes into making a usual game. This just happens to be the one I'm doing today. So let me show you what it looks like so far. At this stage, we have already made the artwork. I've done that in Illustrator, so that's a separate step of the process. So we've already made the look of it. And now I'm going to put it together, which is actually a lot of the work as well. And just putting it together into InDesign and writing the rules and that kind of stuff. So let's dive in. Now, just to give you a bit more behind the scenes, this is what we're working with. And I have no qualms holding that up to you, even though you could totally steal my ideas because I know that it is impossible to follow. So my original notes for this game says, well, there's a random squiggle. Let's see if we can zoom in on that. Yeah, that one there. So that's the one we're doing. There's a random squiggly shape. You're about to see what that turned into eventually. And then it says ribbons. It says line/space notes. Some word I can't even read anymore. Name if more advanced. Yeah, I'm really trying to read that. Winter? But that doesn't make sense. Anyway, and it's going to be called Staff Tangle, so that was written in caps. Okay, so Staff Tangle, here we go. This is what it looks like so far. So what we have here is the InDesign file, and this stuff that's off the page, you won't see that. So this is what the print view will look like. Now, the thing is, it's just been set up. So the artwork has been imported, but nothing has been done to it in terms of the text, so it's not making sense yet. So the first thing we're going to do is change this info right here. That's the concept it's going to cover. And then here, it's going to be actually newbie, as I would call it, up to late beginner / grade 1, because there's going to be the option to name the notes, as I said in my brief notes there. There's the option to name the notes, and there's the option to not. So that's why it works on 2 levels. Then none of this has been changed yet, so we are going to do that at the end. And the title is just one color. In this case, I actually want to represent these ribbons, so I'm going to change the color right here. And we're probably going to repeat these colors again, so I'll show you what I'm doing with that. These are the little details that might seem like they don't really matter, but they're what keep things fun and interesting for members and make the whole thing more cohesive. So I'm actually going to add these to our swatches. So that we can go in reverse like this. And still have the same colors. Oops. All right, so that's the title. It's a very small part of the work done. This is the board. So when we do artwork for a board, it's basically done already. What I'm just going to do is double check the cutting lines that they're correct. So this one is going to that one is going to that one. So all the cuts are in the right places and the copyright info is centered. So that's beautiful. And that's the game board itself. And then we're going to need cards to go along with this. I'm just going to have this master page here, which hasn't been updated yet. So, okay. So we're going to import the card back here. So I'm just showing you the entire setup here of a game, just for curiosity's sake. If you are watching live, feel free to ask questions if you are curious about anything I'm doing. As I said, this is not a full tutorial in how to use InDesign. That would take a lot longer. This is just for those that are curious and want to see behind the scenes. And I thought it would be fun. That's basically the idea as I was putting together this game. So I'm putting in the card backs now. I'm going to have to adjust these because this doesn't match. So we're going to go into the layer here and group this. Oops. Because I'm showing you guys, I am actually doing this on a different screen to normal, so it's slightly more awkward than usual, but it does give you an idea. So I might be moving slightly slower, also because I'm talking to you. Okay, I'm going to group these guys, or just align them first, and then group them. Remove one of these, and we're going to align these lines to the page. Okay, now so that setup is done, ready for our cards. Now what we need here is a card with the staff on it, so that's what we're going to add. And I've done that many times, of course, so I'm just going to go find that on my computer. In the meantime, I'll just pop back on screen here. Because we need to find the grant staff template, so that's what we're looking for. Alright, so this is not yet the right size. What I'm going to use here, I try to mix this up, so that's part of the process of putting together note name games. I do want it to always have a good looking staff that I like, but I also want it to be a little bit varied, because just like when students use books from different publishers, and the musical fonts look different, and it can throw you off if you do Piano Adventures all the way through to level 5 and then you suddenly have music that looks different. That can be quite off-putting. So in games I try to account for that and do different styles, so they're not always the same when I do a game. So we're gonna do 90.53 by 61.53. That's the size of our game card. I'm just setting this up in Illustrator, which is on the other screen than the one you were looking at, and we're going to make it a nice size, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm just going to center that. Okay. Alright, going back to our secondary display, we're going to import that now. That's actually going to go on the master page, so I'm going to be here. And I'm going to place it. So this is the one I just created. I forgot to export it. I always export everything as PNGs so that I can reduce the file size as much as possible for members that have slower internet connections, download speeds, that kind of thing. So we're going to make it out a little bit smaller. Oops. What? Is it not listening to me? Oh, it is. There we go. Okay. Make that there so I can center it nicely. Okay, so that's going to be our grand stuff for this one. As I said, I choose slightly different looks. So this particular one is actually Emmentaler, if you're interested, from MuseScore. So I'm just going to copy that into each of our card spots since we'll be using it in all of them in this game. I also often mix it up, you may have seen, between using just the treble clef or just the bass clef in some, and sometimes using all grand staff. So this is all grand staff in this one. And I like to mix it up in terms of the types of notes we include. So in this one, I'm going to do a note head. Okay, so I'm going to go... Oh, we grabbed that from... That's going to be from Illustrator as well, so just bear with me while I grab that. I'm going to grab a crotchet or a quarter note if you're in the US. And once I've grabbed that crotchet, I am going to cut off its stem. How rude, right? So where is my crotchet? There. Okay. Yeah, so that imported as picture, which is great. Okay, I'm gonna go to this selection tool right here. Oh, it came in a box, is it? Hang on. Yeah, no. Okay, let's try that a different way. Even with a lot of experience, it doesn't always go completely perfectly. And we are on the wrong layer as well. And in the wrong spot. So let's go back to our regular page, because this is where we want it. There we go. Yeah, that layer should be on the top in this game. It's normally underneath. Okay. So now, yeah, see how I can directly select those dots. Actually going to delete those because we're going to redraw that part. And we're going to get our pen tool and we're going to curve this around. So any questions, just ask me in the comments or anything, any curiosities, but this is the type of note we're using here, which is not a real note, it's a note head. That's all we want for this one. As I said, we try to vary that. Now we're going to have to make sure that's in the middle of the staff. So I'm going to create some rulers, okay? So we're going to drag those here and there, because I like it to be centered. Since it's without, it's like just a note, right? It's outside of real notation, so it's not following all notation conventions. I'm just going to align it between those because I think that looks best. And it's, as I said, nothing really to do with notation rules and note values. I mean, this doesn't even have a note value. It's sort of a crotchet, but not really. Okay. Now, I did forget one thing, which is that we should have left one of these blank and put some text here. So something we always want in a game is some kind of, well, game element. Otherwise, you know, kids aren't stupid. They will figure out that they're just naming notes or whatever they're doing, and they'll be happy to play along to a certain degree, but it's way more fun if you can give them like a surprise element. So here what we want to have is a sort of booby trap, as it were. Now it's in a totally mad layout. We're going to fix that now. It's going to be the same as this one, so we need to know what font that is. I've forgotten. Spork. By the way, if you are creating any kind of resources, be careful with fonts. You might not realize that just like music or anything else, they are copyrighted. You need to have the right license and know what you're doing when you use fonts. So Spork is an Adobe font, which I have the license to use because I am an Adobe CC member. But yeah, you do need a commercial font. This is going to be centered. I'm actually going to make this part a lot bigger. And then we're going to go to Object Text Frame. We are going to center that and we're going to inset it just in case. The inset is so that, again, members with tighter printing boundaries and everything, that they're not stuck, right? That they don't get things chopped off on them. Very annoying. Increase that. Okay, so you got in a Tangle, and I'm also going to change the text color there. I'm going to choose one of our darker colors from the set we just used. Whoops, sorry, not on text. Let's have this one right here. And this one. I'm being careful again with that for those who want to print black and white for the card fronts. If we're trying to save ink, I won't choose a really light color for those kinds of things. That won't work in grey. Okay, so we've got that. Now we need to lay out all our notes. Did I at some stage or someone watch me delete the rulers? I didn't mean to do that. Maybe I turned off the view of them. Oh, no? Yeah, we turned off our guide somehow. Or deleted them, I mean. If I watch this back, which I probably won't bother doing, but if I watched this video back, I would probably see what I did. But anyway, we're not going to do that. We're just going to reapply them. So we had these right here. They should actually be on the other layer, shouldn't they? This one. Dana, yeah. This is my specialty. I don't expect teachers to take this up, but people often ask me about it or they're curious about doing it themselves. So while this isn't a tutorial to teach you to do it yourself, it does give you an insight into what goes on behind the scenes here. Okay, so we've got that lined up. We are going to copy this. So we're going to have, in this game, by the way, to fill you in, yes, students are sometimes going to name the notes, but I mean, there's plenty of note naming games out there. What this is actually going to be about is lines and spaces, and particularly, we have a game about line versus space, but we don't have one that gets students to name the number of the line. So that is how they're going to move forward in this game, because I found, in terms of staff navigation, it's really useful if students can say space 4 or whatever. It also helps them to retain landmark notes sometimes for particular types of learners. They'll want to remember that like base C is space 2, and that helps them remember to be able to say that to themselves. So we need basically one note in each space and one note on each line. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I meant to go over here. Okay, so we're going to have, and in this case I'm choosing not to do the spaces on top and below. I could do that, but that would be a separate thing, and giving them space numbers wouldn't make any sense, so that's not what we're doing here. Just in case you were curious. Okay, and I am watching carefully, by the way, that they're in the space. I'm just eyeballing that, as we would say, but I will go back and double check it. And this, by the way, will run through another person on our team, so any mistakes I make here, don't worry, they should be caught later. The wonderful Sarah will look them over. Melissa will also have a quick look. So we try to avoid errors as much as possible, although of course we're not perfect. Nobody is. Okay, so I've accidentally deleted the one. I did that quite a lot. So it was G, wasn't it, that I missed? Okay. It also would be a bit faster, to be fair, than this. Anyone's wondering if this takes this long. It doesn't take quite this long because I am talking to you and getting distracted. But it does take a while, and it depends on the game. Some take way longer, and I would never show them on a video because we'd probably go up against, I think it's 24 hours YouTube allows you to stream for. Anyway, so I'm going to duplicate that page now. We're going to do the lines. So I've got the exact same page. I still have this one. I've just copied the whole page. And I'm going to select all of these. Since they're all on the same layer, I can just very carefully, are we going to go up or down? Let's go down. Very carefully go down. And we'll have a look around to see if they're aligned correctly. Alrighty, Roo. Now, we are going to do 3 pages on this because I do want to include all the lines, and obviously there are more lines than spaces. So we are, going to do a 3rd page, and then some of them are going to be duplicated. So this is where I'll be a bit strategic about which ones are duplicated, okay? So we want to first get the ones that we missed here. So we have E, G, let's start with treble. We have E and G and B and D. We don't have the top line F, okay? I'm going to make sure that gets included. So you see these dots here, that's where I'll fine tune and make sure they're lined up with the lines. And then we have the base clef G, B, D, F. We've no top line there either, so we're going to do A. Okay, now here's the question, is which ones do we double up on, right? So I am going to make this game faster. That's going to be my priority here, because a lot of the time I would be doubling up the ones I think students need to practice more. In this case, I don't think there's really that kind of inkling with students. So what I want to do is double up some of the middling ones. I want it to be more likely that you move, say, 2 steps or 3 steps, because they're going to be moving based on that. I don't want to double up any one, so I'm not going to put any at the bottom. I'm going to have space 2 and space 3, and then I'm going to do line 2. That's just me zooming in and out. Probably looks crazy if you're not using Illustrator or InDesign. And I'm going to do line 3. And then we're going to do space 3 up here. And then line 3 down here, so it's kind of matching. Oh, thank you, Dana. I try to have attention to detail. Sometimes I do miss errors and things, but that means that the team catches it. That's why we have a team. Okay, so that is our doubled up ones, and we've made sure everything is covered once, but line 5 you see is only once, so it's unlikely that you're going to get a 5. And we do have you got in a tangle on every one. We want that to be reasonably frequent so that it comes up a lot. Now, just to explain to you guys how this is going to work, let me actually open this up in Illustrator so you can see. And I'll bring that over here. How about that? So, staff Tangle. This is where the files are in a completely different spot, so I just have to go find them. Okay, so this will help you guys to see. By the way, that little, did you see that little blue box? If you're on a Mac, that is called Better Snap Tool, and I love it. It makes your windows snap to one side or the other really quick in a much well, the way I prefer to a lot of the time to going full screen or whatever in your corner of your Mac. Anyway, that's an aside. So this is what the game board will look like when it's stuck together. You see the separate pages there, but unlike InDesign, they're not actually separated off. They are sitting beside each other. So that's how we organize them. So students in this game are going to start at one end of a ribbon and they're going to go along the knots. So 1, 2, 3 if they get space 3, or 1, 2 if they get line 2. Get the idea? And if they get that Tangle card, they're going to get frozen in spot. So if you look at the pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9. So if you got really lucky, you could finish this in 2 goes by getting 2 5s, but that's not so likely. So what we're aiming for here is that every player gets about 3 to 4 turns. That's just for the average game. Some I aim for them to be much longer and some much faster because members need both of those, like the longer ones for group lessons and things, and the shorter ones for their 20-30 minute lessons with a student where they need to fly through them. Okay, so that's what Illustrator looks like, but as I said, that was done ages ago. Away. Yes? There we go. Okay, so we've got our game board, we've got our cards, and now we need our instructions. This is a reasonably simple game, which is why I chose it for you guys. Okay, so place a counter for each player on the left, on one of the ribbons. At the left side of the board, that's correct. Players take turns to draw a card and say the line or space number, e.g. line 5 for treble, for bass A. Let's give that as an example. Okay, you guys can let me know if these instructions make sense, by the way. But as I said, this is going to be proofread by the wonderful Sarah, and she'll let me know if the instructions make sense. So deliberately, I do not tell her, like, face-to-face in an online meeting or with a video or any other explanation. I just let her go into these files and see if they make sense to her. That's the first test. And by the way, she is a teacher. Many members of our team, more than not, are actually teachers. So she's going to have that perspective to bring to it. They forward this, that many knots. E.g. 5 knots forward for base A. Okay, so we're using the same example. They are incorrect. They do not move. Now let's change that. Changing my mind on that one. That was my original plan, but we've got the Tangle card. So let's say if they're incorrect, they move 1 knot forward. Forwards 1 knot makes more sense. Forward 1 knot. The winner is the first to reach the end of their ribbon. And then I'm going to put the extra in here. So this is going to be... Do I have a style set up for this in this file? No, I don't think so. We're going to do just this. So optional, extra, space number. That's going to be italic. Hello, italic, thank you. No, I haven't technically studied game theory. I think I just have a logical brain. Like I have quite a mathematical brain, I think. That's the way I naturally think. Even music. I was the kid, maybe you have this one, who doesn't ever wing it with their so if you have a right and left hand rhythm, I would have calculated the fraction of the note. So if you had like a dotted semiquaver in one hand and the other hand is doing something else, I would have calculated the fractions using a common denominator because I'm a weirdo. So if you have a student doing that, you know they're not alone. But that is kind of my brain. I'm not like a maths whiz or anything. I didn't do amazingly well in it, but I do have that sort of logical brain and spatial awareness kind of brain. Okay, so staff Tangle. This is just general information. Will help newbie students navigate the staff. Okay, and then this, we're going to write the same thing as above, so I'm just going to copy that. We said this was going to be newbie 2. Oh, and that shouldn't be italic. It is a board game. The players. Now, yeah, 2 to 6 is accurate because of the numbers of cards. Many members will know that they can just double up the number of cards or flip more often, crowd things onto the board, but technically 2 to 6 is what it's ideal for. Game board, single-sided, trim along the dotted lines, that's still applicable. Is it the same number of card pages? No. 6 to 11, double-sided. By the way, if you are a member, you don't have to print the backs of the cards. Members know that. Those are always optional. You will also need a counter for each player, and you do not need dice because the cards are the way you move forward. Alrighty, so let's do a final quick check. As I said, it's going to be proofread properly later. Alright, looking good. I'm happy with this game. I'm really going to enjoy using it in my studio, and I will be testing it out before it's released with my students. I'm just going to export it to a PDF so you see what I'm doing. This is the smallest file size. This is custom settings, but it's the smallest file size that we can achieve without degrading the quality. So that is what we do. I'm going to export it as a PDF, and that is assigned to Sarah, a content manager, who's going to proofread it. That's her sign that it is ready to be proofread, and then I just close it, and that's it. So that's the second stage of creating a game. As I said, I was just doing that myself, and I'm going to be doing a few more games now once I hop off. And I thought, hey, someone might be curious to see this, someone might be inspired by it, or just interested to see behind the scenes. So that is the process. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me if you did. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.